Welcome back to American Agenda as more woke governing continues to spread across the country. The latest state to let criminals roam free is occurring in Oregon. Oregon Governor Kate Brown is facing some backlash now after granting cold-blooded killer Kyle Hedquist clemency for a murder he committed back in 1994. Brown argued that Hedquist was only 17 when he struck, and that teenage criminals can, quote, grow and change. And get this, Brown frees him without even telling his 19-year-old victim's family. Now the victim's mother says she fears for her and her son's lives. So why are criminals continuously let loose? And time again, joining us now for more, host of Just Listen to Yourself show, Kira Davis, and former Nevada State GOP chairwoman, Amy Tarkanian. Kira, I'll start with you. What's your thought when you hear this kind of story?
This is just the typical progressive agenda. For some strange reason, these people have attached themselves to the philosophy that no one should ever go to jail for anything, and that somehow letting people just get away with their terrible choices will be the answer to solving terrible choices. We're dealing with this here in California, of course. George Gascon in LA is a Marxist EA who has really made it his mission to be on the side of the criminal. I hate to sound hyperbolic, but I just think there's no other way to look at this besides the fact that they are on the side of the criminal and not the side of the people. And I think we're seeing that philosophy reflected in the polling and the mood of voters lately. This is an absolutely disgusting decision.
Yeah, but Oregon, it tends to be liberal. So does California, as you know. So sometimes there aren't consequences. In response to Governor Brown's decision, Oregon Senate GOP leader Tim Knopp said, as with many others, the facts of this case are outrageous and brutal. The governor continues to let violent criminals out of prison, and Democrats in the majority remain silent. Amy, what are your thoughts?
This is actually, it's perplexing and mind-blowing on why they're allowing such dangerous people out like this. This is not a robbery gone bad. This is not an accident. This was intentional murder. This man actually shot a young woman in the back of her head. And he was 17, as you said. So if he is, brave enough, I guess, as you would call it, or bold enough to do that at the age of 17, what do you think an individual may possibly misbehave as 20, 30 years down the road that's been locked up, pent up, and probably extremely angry that he's been there this long? You need to have a program in place so that way we don't have recidivism. We actually need to have programs like Hope for Prisoners that we have here in Nevada. So that way you can have ex-felons come out and become, good, upstanding citizens once again. But somebody like this who has created such a heinous act, I find that to be disgusting, and it is scary. I feel for the family.
Yeah, I feel like there are a couple things that happen in a sentence. Number one is justice. People want to feel like the right thing was done, and when you're laying out, that's the worst of the worst kind of attacks on somebody. You want justice. This person should be put away. This is not somebody we need in our community. And then it's also the message that is sent. And Kira, this is what bothers me about what she did here. Letting him go sends the message that, it was a bad day. Justice is completely gone in this situation.
I hate to sound like an alarmist, but everything we've learned over the last 2 years, this is absolutely 100%, without a doubt, part of a Marxist agenda. The idea is to dismantle the system from the inside out. That's what George Gascon is doing in Los Angeles. That's what they're doing in Oregon. All these activists that people, particularly on the West Coast, have elected into office, they were very clear about their intentions. People didn't believe it. People didn't believe it when we said, they're going to defund the police. And lo and behold, they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. The idea is to create chaos, and then somehow they're going to rebuild this perfect utopia from the chaos. And of course, we know that's not true. And hopefully voters' notions are going to catch up with that soon.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I lived in Oregon, so I understand the politics there. It's urban versus rural. And rural folks are very conservative, and they will not like this at all. And then you have the urban voters tend to go very liberal. We'll see how that plays itself out. Stay with us. We have more to talk about. Welcome to American Agenda. I want to bring back our panel to talk about something that happened today when the president was speaking. This is something that was brought to our attention by James Rosen, our chief White House correspondent. And he was talking about some of the things going on in Russia. And I wanted to cue this up and get our panel's reaction. This is the president today.
I'm also sending to Congress a comprehensive package that will enhance our underlying effort to accommodate the Russian oligarchs and make sure we take their ill-begotten gains. We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies. But these are bad guys.
All right, Amy, your response?
That was hard to watch. That was very
is.
hard to listen to. My heart is heavy, actually. That's the first I've seen of that. And that's very upsetting. I think that we need to be kind to this man. I don't care what your political affiliation is, but I think at this point, somebody needs to step in and tell him it's done. We're done. We need to have somebody else come in. This is too much.
Yeah, you know, Kara, I had a father that had some challenges as he got older, and those were the kinds of moments that indicate a direction that is not completely reversible. I mean, we all have moments. Okay, I do, especially any of us here on the air. We have moments on and off the air, and when you're on the air, you're searching for, how do I get out of this? How do I find the right word? You don't always find the right word, but there seemed to be something a little different about that one. Almost, Kira, a resignation that he knew he couldn't get out of that moment.
I think Amy really described it well. Like, I looked at that gave me a very heavy heart. I don't know that I have it in me to express the same type of sympathy. Every situation that Joe Biden is in is a situation he brought himself to. He has spent his whole political career building up a team around him of people who are uncaring for his well-being and uncaring for our well-being. And now we're in this situation. And what makes it worse and more sickening is that there's really no one to turn to right now. We are 2+ years out from a presidential election. The alternative to Joe Biden is Kamala Harris, which is terrifying, and the alternative to her is Nancy Pelosi. So we are really stuck between a rock and a hard place. There are a lot of people that we should be furious at for letting this man stand up on that podium and make a fool, not just out of himself, but out of all of us. Yes, I sympathize for people who go through this tragic stage of illness, and it's a very common thing in America. I understand that, but those people didn't run for president, and those people didn't have people behind them propping them up in order to be the leader of the free world. It's not only terrifying, it's tragic.
Yeah, now I'm not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing, I'm just as a citizen, as a journalist looking at this, and I am concerned about what I'm seeing. Now, and another thing about this, Amy, is also, as Ronald Reagan was getting older, there were some that felt like he was having his moments, and we know eventually he did manifest with Alzheimer's, but there were a lot of people around him that kind of had control, were running it. You could even say George H.W. Bush's term was the third Reagan term. So that's how much they had. But you don't get the feeling here that anybody's really in control of policy or direction of where this administration is going.
Right. And I also don't get the feel, and I hope that I'm wrong on this, but I also don't get the feel that the people who are surrounding him actually care about him as an individual, because it's now been on a number of occasions where we've seen him left by himself. He's left hanging out to dry with nobody to assist him,
I'm
point
not
him
sure
in
what
the
they
right
could have
direction.
done. Yeah.
Well, or even just to step in verbally or to give him a cue, or, I mean, for crying out loud, he had the Easter Bunny come and save him. I mean, this isn't funny anymore.
Yeah, I think that's true, Kira. We did see that moment. I won't rehash it. I think the concern is we're seeing somebody who we know, as we all age, there's some deterioration. at what point does it reach a level at which this is a concern for somebody that is in the most powerful position in the world?
I'm afraid that we're going to have to get to the point where people are hurt, where our country comes under attack, where there is some kind of, we're already heading towards a great global instability, where there is some kind of event in the world that really has severe consequences for American sovereignty and American safety. That's what I'm concerned about, that we might have to get to that point to where people look around and go, this is not only not right, this is actually terrifying. And we made a lot of jokes about Biden leading up to this point, but as you so deftly point out right now, we are far beyond humor right now. This is very serious.
Yeah, and James Rosen pointed this out for us. He was there, he made the observation, and this is somebody who's a journalist who has seen a lot of presidents in many situations, and when it strikes him, it's something worth paying attention to. Amy, Kira, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.